Alrighty, good morning. We are back again, and today we over here in the Lost Sea Adventure. I've never been to this at all. None of us have. As long as this has been here, this is my first time. So jump along and let's go inside. All right, thanks. Thank you. Oh my gosh. You wish you didn't hit your head on it.
Which is a perfect pairing for that rust that's right above it, because in many circles it's also known as cave bacon. And let's be honest, if your bacon looks like that, you must like it really, really well done. No judgment zone here. But once you got a good look at everything and once you're ready, just follow me back across the bridge if you want to see one of the Cherokees in the 1820s. See, their chief Craighead, I know what his name sounds like, but it's Craighead. He obtained the land above through the Hiwassee Ocoee land grant. So during the hottest of summers, the coldest of winters with bad weather, the Cherokees could just come down here to the cave and enjoy the nice 58-degree temperature all year round. Real estate was a lot different back then, right? Now, this, once again, isn't an area they come to very often. Now, anthodite is the Greek phrase roughly translating to cave flower, so whoever decided to come up with that was either very patient or they thought they were funny, because these take about 1 cubic centimeter per 1,000 years to grow. So I guess like some people's flowers was what they were going for. Now, the reason that these are so rare, once again, it has to do with high humidity and water vapor, but it's also the fact that they take, once again, 1 cubic centimeter per 1,000 years to grow. They don't seem to ever drip either, so that's why we assume it's water vapor. We're still trying to figure out how these things work these days, so maybe in the next few hundred years we'll get it. Now, as we go around the corner here, watch your head right here. This is called the wave snatcher. I'm going to take a little off the top if you're not careful. There you go. I want you all to leave this wall.
The wooden snatcher, you said?
The wedding snatcher.
Every time we make a stop here, so it's time to do some stretches.
Oh, there is names on there, huh? Wow.
Every sport, it doesn't get easier. 3 to 5 times a day we have to do this at sport, guys. So, yeah, trip down, just a warm up with a trip back in. But now, everyone, if you're wondering about this big old piece of wood here, don't worry, it is not a model of one of the boats. It's actually in way better shape. This thing here is called a leaching bag. Now, these were commonly used during the Civil War as a way to make gunpowder. So what you do with one is first you go gather up a bunch of charcoal, so there's torches as they started to burn out, so just a little bit of ash on the wall there. And you might also notice some of this scratched in writing and the permanent marker looking stuff. Wasn't necessarily from the Civil War, obviously. This was actually done in the 60s by the people helping test out the pathways to see if they were safe. And we wouldn't be anywhere without the help of Dennis Ray Belcher, Dennis Ray Belcher, and Dennis Ray Belcher. Yeah, Simon's gonna rain 3 times, I'm gonna give him credit for each one. So as we head on through, watch your noggins on the right there. Then over there, we have 1863. Why did you do your flip flop?
So we'll watch your head right here.
haven't already. As a wise man once said, so much room for activities. Every more I hope the kids don't get that very fast. I am looking at myself. But now, personally, this is one of my favorite chambers in the cave, just because I love history and I was a popular kid in school. Mom said so.
He was homeschooled.
Yeah. I wish. I could a lot less when I was a kid. So this right here is called the Hanging Rock Chamber, because it's a chamber with hanging rocks, so this kind of makes sense.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So just want to do a little survey since we got a little time to kill. Who all has learned something new today?
Oh yeah, basically.
So who all is having fun though? Yeah, I was about to say, you better. And let's see, for those who haven't learned anything new, did you know that the medieval Europeans took the word moment and actually gave it a time frame? It's about 3 to 4 minutes. So now you know what I mean by a moment. Yay! So we're going to go ahead and keep on moving. We are once again heading to the lake room. Just a few pit stops here and there. And a few low-hanging rocks because it was so fun the first 3 times. Not because of how far down we've traveled per se, but what's above us right there. All the way up there in the surface world, that is the peak of the hill behind the lobby, making us 550 feet below surface. Now once we get down to the lake room, the bottom of the pathway, as low as we'll be going, we're only going to be about 140 feet underground beneath the first gravel parking lot outside. So if you get dripped on in the lake room, don't you worry, probably just need to check your brake fluid later. But while I was blabbing on about that, probably wondering about that red, scary hole there.
Jumped on it.
Now, don't worry, that's just the devil's hole. Now, it's called that because once a little girl in 1965 looked down there. She saw the maintenance guy and, of course, ran out screaming in terror because, well, I heard he wasn't much of a looker. Now, if you want to look down there, feel free to do so. It's going to be down there, I promise. Just watch out for that. I'm just kidding.
Definitely take a look at it.
Done checking out the devil's hole. We'll come out checking out this hole.
Devil's hole, huh?
It's a long way down, right?
Is it?
Here for the longest time. You actually voted as time.
Oh yeah.
What if I just
Just a tad. Just a tad. It is a long way down.
Now, before we go down this next hill, everyone, I should go ahead and warn you, it is the steepest hill in the cave, or at least one of the steepest hills. It's kind of a contender for second place with the next hill. But as we go on down, if you need a handrail, feel free to use the ones on the right. They're going to be there for you. They're very sturdy. Unlike the ones on the left, they cut off halfway down, but they try their best. We're also going to be heading through something called the Baby Grand Canyon. Those form the exact same way as the real one. So that means if you want to take some nice up-close pictures, you can say you're at the real thing at night, and not even experts are going to be able to tell you the difference. So here we go. Heading on.
Yeah, go slow.
Now, I know what you're thinking. My forehead is perfectly aligned today. I did not do this. I promise. At least I don't remember things. So, back in the early 1900s, this entire area here, this whole tunnel was completely flooded. It left behind what looked like a little mud puddle covering everything up, so no one knew that this tunnel even existed for the longest time. Nowadays, we have a pump system to keep that from happening again. It doesn't really have any flooding issues anymore, at least for the most part. But in 1905, for the first time in recorded history, there was a pretty significant drought. And that was just enough to cause the water level to lower down to where it is today. And there was a young boy here who explored the cave all the time back then, Ben Sands. He was about 11 years old at the time, and when he found this tunnel, it was about the size of a bicycle tire. And of course, thankfully, since he was still so young, he could fit in just perfectly. He crawled 40 feet that way with nothing but darkness and his little oil lantern. And when he got into the lake room, he found himself in about waist-high water and figured, well, this is a lot of water. We could probably use this in this drought. So he ran back up to town to tell everyone about what he found, but since he was still a kid, no one took him seriously. They all thought it was a game or his imagination or something like that. And by the time anyone came back down here, it was months after the drought ended. So all they saw was the little mud puddle covering everything up, and that's what they all thought he was talking about for 60 years, over half a century. But that was until the owners of this establishment bought out the land above. They'd heard the stories growing up here, wanted to see if they were true. So after waiting for another drought, they found the same exact tunnel Mr. Sands did, even contacted the man himself at the age of 72. And he was able to perfectly describe how to get down here, all the way through the granite tunnel. So he earned full credit for discovering the lake room. They named this tunnel after him, the Ben Sands Tunnel. And we figured we would tell the story on every single tour in honor of his great discovery, and also to explain why he holds the Lost Seas record of the longest I told you so, which I'm in 3rd place. But as we head into the lake room, just watch your noggins and definitely watch your steps over this way. Very, very slippery at the rug. Let's go see something to do. So while we're here, everyone, you might have noticed that this room has a lake in it. Therefore, logic would dictate this is the lake room. Yay, we did it. So the most important thing to note about this room, the water's depth, it is pretty severe. The further out there you go, the deeper it gets, just like a swimming pool. Over here is already about 5 to 15 feet deep, 30 to 40 feet deep in the middle of the room, which is about the average depth. And at the very end of the room, the deepest point is 70 to 75 feet. So make sure that you do not drop anything into the lake at all. If it floats, you can be quite relieved that it didn't sink. But if it sinks, it stinks. Legally, we cannot go in after anything that is not some sort of living being. So that includes hats, glasses, cameras, cell phones, keys, wallets, children, hopes, dreams, anything. I mean, forget the whole children thing. Just make sure you hang on tightly to everything. If you somehow end up in the lake, we will do our best to rescue you. You're valuable to us. Just make sure that once you get onto the boat, you treat it just like a roller coaster. Not as fast, but still could cause accidents. Just head all the way to the back end of the boat ride. Have a seat. Remain seated for the entire ride, of course. And if you feel like there's going to be an emergency, feel like you might get thrown off the 2.5 mile per hour boat ride like a piece of paper or something, your seat cushions are your flotation devices. You're in very good hands. They even say float, so they come with directions too. Now, as well, try not to touch the water or anything. Leaning over the side of the boats could cause you to fall in, of course. Not only that, but the oils from our bodies actually not very good for the fish. So not only would it make them sick, but also, well, they'll eat anything that goes in the water, including limbs. Not allowed to lose any more fingers on these tours. Of course, I'm just kidding. So with that being said, I think we're just big enough to have 2 boat rides, so half of you will be with me, the other half will be with Mr. James.
Alright guys, we're now heading across the large underground lake. The dimensions are 800 feet long, 220 feet wide, 65 feet on average from the water surface to the highest point in the ceiling, and roughly around 4.5 acres in total. The depth of the water is about 10 to 15 feet deep at the dock, about 30 to 40 feet deep in the middle of the lake, and 70 feet in the very back. That is the deepest point. From there you can see a 6-story building under the water and would not be able to see the top of it. Also, we do have fish in the lake. These are all rainbow trout. These trout were stocked here back in 1967 to be used as an experiment, so they find an exit inside the cave. We ran into 2 major issues though. Number 1, these fish cannot see in the dark. And number 2, these fish really do not want to leave once you feed them every boat ride every day. So now we restock these fish every 3 to 4 years. And these fish down here we just recently restocked roughly 2 years already. Now, if you've ever seen a rainbow trout with love handles, Bubba would be your best bet.
Wow.
He's built like a swimming cereal box.
Well, these are pretty big too.
Yeah, now these guys, they're probably not our healthiest batch of rainbow trout. Because of the entire COVID situation, we weren't able to feed them.
You thought it was coming to get you?
Hey, look at the trout.
It's so cool how clear the water is. You want to go swimming with the trout? No, I don't want to go swimming with the trout. No, thank you.
No. I thought it was pretty fun while it lasted, though. Okay, well, I didn't do it. That was Zach. My invention was fine.
So the KFC drumstick. Yeah, that's what it said. And that hole, which is way back there, right there, is how the water came in and made the floor. That's what he said. Yeah, the gift shop. That's the size of a trout in there. Wow. Shirts, coffee cups, all kind of stuff in here. Minerals. Some of the things they found in the inside here. Wow. Oh yeah, we are going back home. We got Miss Nita, TJ. We're heading back to NOLA. This guy needs a beer. I know my wife says she's ready to go. So, hey, we really enjoyed the Lost Sea. It was very nice. So if you're having a difficult time of walking up some sharp inclines, do be careful. They do have them. Thank you, son. There is quite a bit of them when you get further down in the cave. So they do tell you if you can't make it, definitely stay back because they are pretty sharp to go up. Lost Sea, great. The water's beautiful. Didn't get to touch it, but I imagine it's ice cold. Yeah. But anyway, we had a great time. So until next time. Bye for now. Oh yeah, that's what's up. Tell them.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.